putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here on Thanksgiving Day. While we were stuffing ourselves with turkey and carbs, there were other stories happening. Most of us, we were surrounded by family. Some of us watched idiots protest the national anthem before poorly attended football games. Others watched the protesters at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Whatever you did, I'm willing to bet that your day was less eventful than that of a North Korean soldier who made the mad dash to freedom. And what looked like a scene from The Bourne Identity or one of those Jason Bourne Hollywood spy thrillers, a young North Korean soldier changed his life forever. And CNN reported it like this as this Korean soldier sprinted to the DMZ. Dramatic video showing a North Korean soldier fleeing across the border into South Korea while being shot at by his former comrades was released by the United States Command Wednesday. United Nations, I mean. The video released marks the first time an American-led UN command has disclosed security footage of a defection across the heavily fortified, demilitarized zone, the DMZ, that divides North and South Korea. The New York Times narrated a video of it as it happened, and I got to tell you, I didn't see the whole thing. I only saw the ending. You have to see this guy. He's driving up to a checkpoint, what should be a checkpoint, in a Jeep, and he just blasts through, and he's cruising along the way, and his Jeep gets stuck in the mud or whatever, something, and then he jumps out, and I mean, this guy sprints. He is moving. It looks like a Korean version of Usain Bolt. You just see a blur. Shoots across, gets into the South Korean side, where a North Korean guy runs across for just a little bit and then stops. And then the guy, the North Korean soldier who was escaping, he collapses on the other side, but he's on the South Korean side. Then 3 South Korean military people and I think one American, they crawl out, grab the guy, and drag him to say he's done. That was all he had left in him. And I want to tell you, I'd watch that over any football game. I was thinking about that with Colin Kaepernick, because this kid he's running for his very life. Forget Gale Sayers, forget Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders and Earl Campbell and all the other football players combined. That man ran for his life. Just while we're on the subject, I'd love to see football played where North Korean soldiers stood behind you and shot at you as you ran down to the other end of the end zone. Now, that would be a game. There is no kind of politics that would stop me from watching that. That's gladiator stuff right there. Man, you got to see. It was harrowing is not even the right word. This man is literally running for his life. He could have been killed going in the direction of freedom, but he was doggone Skippy going to be killed if he went back. And then you find out the price of freedom. The price of freedom. Shot 5 times. He lost half his blood. They said in order to patch him up, they had to give him twice the amount of blood that was in his body. I want you to put yourself in a situation where you're running from your country to cross the border. Think about when you drive from, Missouri to Illinois. There's no demilitarized zone. There's nobody that even cares. Why should we care if a citizen, I'm not talking about illegally. Why should we care if a North Korean wants to go to the South? Who is it that should dictate that citizens of the world cannot legally go to another country as long as that country has no beef? In other words, the North Korean people have no beef with their South Korean brothers and sisters. They haven't been able to hang with them for a generation. But they have no beef with them. Why shouldn't they be able to go? Why shouldn't South Koreans be able to come and visit old family in the North? They have no real beef. It isn't like there's a travel ban because of terrorism. But so just imagine you want to go visit your family in Texas, and that's the way you would have to do it. Man, so he gets shot 5 times, loses half his blood. They have to give him 2 full, whatever the body holds in liters of blood. They had to give it to him twice over to keep him alive. They said he was extremely malnourished. I think they said the guy was 5'5" and 132 pounds. Now, he's a military guy. He's 5'5". I mean, he couldn't do anything about that unless maybe he should have been 6'3" if they'd fed him earlier in his life. But he's 5'5", 132 pounds in the North Korean military. Ask yourself, what drove him to the point where he said, that's it. I'm done. This is life or death. I'm done. Then they found 3 parasites in his intestinal system. This guy was more wormy than a dog that's been neglected in the streets of America. It was amazing this man was able to crawl to freedom, much less run to freedom, looking like the Asian version of Usain Bolt. I say, if you haven't seen the video, you'll see it. It's not sped up for our enjoyment. This dude is fast. I don't know how long he planned it, but he said, I'm getting a truck. I'm driving through the DMZ. I'm not looking back. It was crazy. Oh, man. His tenacity proves, folks, how the human spirit longs for freedom. You better know he will be stricken from the record in North Korea. They will not mention his name. I think his name is O. My bet is if you say anything close to O, you'll get executed. They don't want you to know that this dude exists. It's like the slaves, the freedmen back in the South during the days of Democrat oppression of black people. By the way, that still goes on. But in the real days of slavery, when Democrats fought their own brothers to keep black people as slaves, when a freedman showed up, they said, you got to go. They didn't want slaves to know there were black people out there who were free, who could go do what they want to do. You better know the North Korean government will pretend that man never existed because he got out. Man, I just think of everything that was going against him. Malnutrition with worms. And then he gets shot 5 times and he still said, you know what? I'm free. If you think he's going to die, I don't think that anything can kill this guy. Not right now. He's got to have at least a week of freedom. Healthy. Because he paid the price. This is a dude that said, I will not stand for this. And I mean, I want you to understand, you know, when he finally got over across that border, boop, he collapsed. That was it. But God gave him the strength to get to that point. I think there's a reason for that. I see a bright future. If this man survives, and I think he will, I see a bright future for him. Talking to leftists, going to college campuses and explaining freedom and what he was willing to do. And talking to these kids and saying, you think you want what I just left? The human spirit. What a commitment to freedom the South Koreans and the U.S. soldier who pulled him out, pulled him to safety. They understood what he was doing. They understood he was running for his life, and they put theirs on the line to make sure he got one. What about them? That's a video I would love to show LeVar Ball. Isn't that his dad, or is that the player? I don't know. I'd like him to see that video, to see what his son may have been trying to do one day, escaping China. The South Korean government recognized those military soldiers that helped that kid get freed, as well as the American. Collapsed from his wounds, dragged to safety. You are all in the range of the North Korean fire, General Kim Byung-ju said. It was a precarious situation and a showcase of great leadership. The guy also had hepatitis B and tuberculosis. This is a military guy. That's how good they treat their military over there. Can you imagine what the citizens go through? It's unbelievable. I'm going to talk more about this in the next hour because I really want people to understand exactly what we're dealing with when a guy like Kaepernick and other football players take a knee and talk about the oppression of black folks in America. Shut up, you fools. It's amazing.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.